I know last couple of days something has been bothering me. Seeing some coverage about the Black Panthers in Philadelphia, and not the fact that what they're doing and standing up, and it's the idea of the people, the black people, that are bashing them, that are talking about these fake, this, that, and the other. And I find it pretty much disgusting, really. And I tell you why. I've been studying like counterinsurgency, things like that for the last 30 years. I mean, back in 1997, especially after the Million Man March. And I noticed a couple of things. I found this book in a Army-Navy store, Counterinsurgency, written by the War School, Fort Braggs, and it was, Special Forces. And it went into how counterinsurgency, dealing with the fact they were dealing with communism, the so-called communism, what the whole deal was. That's what made me look at communism a lot differently, because it really was about anti-colonialism, that stand. But one of the things they mentioned, psychological warfare, economic warfare, and, different tactics they would use, going into communities, which kind of related to, even though they were in around the world, Latin America, Asia, Africa, I've related to a lot of the things that happen here, war on drugs, things like that. And one of the things that stuck out was they mentioned the fighting population. 80% of the population is neutral, 20% are active as far as involved and really concerned, aware. Added to 20%, 5% are actually willing to take up arms and do something. So with that, the recruitment would become from the 20%, which is 15% left over. But on the other side, you have with the counterinsurgency, and they would come in and they would try to find who are the most likely to rise up, which is always young men of fighting age. That's what's one of the things that I always looked at with prisons, and how they always target, black men going to prison and to disarm them, because when you get a prison, you get a record, you get convicted, you become a felon, you can't own a gun, things like that, can't vote. So there's a lot of those things that they have that are basically politically advantageous to them, maintaining control and making sure that people don't, get wise and know their rights. So when I hear these people say, oh, these guys are, they're not following this, that, and the other, and they're not with the national Black Panthers, and they're saying these guys are fake because this, that, and the other. No, what it is when you have people that are just that 5%, and they can talk what they talk and say what they say, it's like you don't understand that, because if you're not even in that level of thinking, on that level of, talking to the police like that. I've done that. Talk to them straight like that. So a lot of people, with all this, hello, sir, what can I do for you, sir? Hands up, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Trying to show I'm not doing nothing, this, that, and the other. The same people that talk shit, cops stop them, they're gonna be yes, sir, this, that, and other, right? Whereas when you don't understand, when you know your rights about things, you know how to speak, and know when you speak with authority to them. You don't speak like somebody who's trying to ask for permission to go to the bathroom because you're sitting in a classroom in a back in school or something. You're talking to them because you're the authority, they're not the authority. You're their superior. You have rights. That's what the Constitution is all written about. So when I hear people talk about them and say, well, they're not doing this, or they don't stand for this, especially this FBA. I don't know where the hell that shit comes from. Right? I've never heard about that. All the time I was, years of dealing with all type of black situations, programs, and this all of a sudden this pops up, and all this stuff about, this ain't about us and don't represent us, clown ass shit. Who does things without allies? You gotta have allies doing things. You talk about, people coming from another place and all that type of stuff. You can't do nothing with our allies. You can't fight yourself. If that would be the case, then the black people in the South, when they were burning them damn towns, they would have came back and built up and burnt the other people out of town, out of there. And then the fact that these people coming in and they're talking about, oh, this ain't about us. This is not about us. Of course it's about us. The immigration, they can't deport us. Clowns. You think it's about immigration? They're targeting the 14th Amendment. They're going into the idea of the Dred Scott case. They want to get that thing out of there so bad because the Dred Scott case has never been overturned. The only thing that kept it on the cover was the 14th, 15th Amendment. So all they did was bury that toxic waste over dirt, and there's this bubbling, and it bubbles out of the dirt with the prisons, population of black people, the economics as far as poverty, and other things that black people affect black people. All that is that toxic waste that's been buried that still comes up and gets you. Just like the people when they get those toxic buried things in their community, and they wonder why somebody's walking around. Everybody got cancer. This person got this type of cancer. That person, how does this neighbor get cancer? And this kid got cancer. That person got cancer. They have birth defects and all that type of stuff. And you wonder why, because they had buried something that all of a sudden it came up. And this is the same thing. It's just been buried. It's been bubbling on the ground. People hear it sometimes. Oh, what's that going on? And they might say something. They say, oh, no, it's all in your mind. It's not nothing going on, It is, no, I'm telling you, man, it happened to this person. It happened to that person. He's there. And they're like, no, they said it's all right. The government came and told everybody that it's all in their mind, You can drink the water. You can do this type of stuff. That's the same shit. The same thing. The whole thing about, we told them, we could sit this out. We could sit this out because we told them. You think those white people that are out there protesting are worried about getting deported? That's why they're out there, because they're worried about getting deported. Those are the same people that voted against Trump too. They're not the people that were all of a sudden they changed their mind. The people that were with Trump, they're still with Trump. They still support that shit. They might not like what happened to them, but they still support that shit. It's the same people that would stand for anything, because I've been to protests. I ain't one of those people that talk about don't go out there. I've been out there. I've seen the white people that go to those protests. Even when it was black men, about black men, I've seen more white people, women, and college students out there than I've seen black men out there. I could probably count on both hands how many black men I saw out in those places, in those marches. So when I hear people say, oh, it's not about us, don't go out in the street. I'll be people that never been in the street, just talking about some shit. Come on here and talk some shit. And then when people talk about people that are out there on the street doing something, talking, they think they're just talking. Because they won't do nothing about it. Because they don't see how anybody would have the nerve to speak to the cops or the police or the authorities like that. And when I say that, to say this, when they speak like that, those are counterinsurgents. Whether you know it or not, you speak like that, you're a counterinsurgent. You're a government informant. You're a government agent, whether you know it or not. I know government agents. Because there's nowhere in the world, that was the whole purpose of counterinsurgency, is that they go and they find out the people who are going to rise up, who's going to stand up, and they use propaganda to talk negative about them so they can neutralize them and separate it from the rest of the population so they can try to do something to go after them. That's how it works. That's why black militancy had basically died out, because they used that. Because when they did it in that time, they used JAWS, hiring government jobs. Come on, the government's doing this, that, and the other. So that happened. So that kind of died down on that type of militancy, making it, separating it from the people. So you hear this today where people say, oh, these guys ain't the real one. You got 35,000 different denominations of Christianity. You got Ku Klux Klan Christianity. You got Aryan Nation Christianity. You have all these different, and nobody's sitting there bashing this person and saying, oh, this person, they're not saying it right. That's not the way that Christianity goes, this, that, and the other. That's not how it goes. You have over 1,000 white extremist groups that are armed. I don't hear none of them speaking a negative about each other. I don't hear none of, oh, they're not doing it the right way. They're not the real Aryan nation. They're not the real skinhead. They're not the real Ku Klux Klan. You know, they're not the real neo-Nazis. You know, they're not doing it this way because this is what it says, man. They're just fake. But I hear it from black people. The real counterinsurgents. Because they're not going to go out there. They're not going to go out there and say, well, these guys are in Philadelphia. Now, if they're in Philadelphia, they're on the streets, so they're going to know the people that call them out if that would be the case. That's a city. That's an old city. That's an old struggle city. That's an old civil rights city. That's an old militant city. That's the move city. That's where the people that bombed everything. You think they're out there to play? You got to be a real clown. You got to have no sense of knowing anything to believe that that's what's going on over there. Just because you don't have the balls to do it. But you can be on this and say something. But when it comes down to really pulling something off, no, you want, oh, don't do that. Don't stay. That's how they neutralize. That's the neutralizing of counterinsurgency. That's the government operation. Government agent. That's what they are. A government agent. Whether you like it or not. I've dealt with them in prison. First thing they don't want to do when you hear black people talking about something, and I'm trying to enlighten somebody on something, and we're having different programs, they running back and tell the counselor, oh, this guy's racist. He's talking about this, that, and the other. Telling us, giving stuff that's nothing but the truth. So when I hear that type of stuff, talking like that, it just disgusts me to hear people think that they got something and they're going to try to out somebody when they ain't nothing but a government agent themselves. That's the real government agent, the one who's always trying to take down when somebody's trying to rise up. There's no way, one way to skin this cat. There's nothing you take off the table. And to think that, oh, we can't be deported. You think this is about damn immigration? You got to be the biggest idiot in the world. Go study something about the Spanish Civil War that happened in the 1920s. Go study the Chilean War, the Chilean dictatorship, how these things come about. They always come out when they point out one little thing that everybody can agree on. I think everybody can agree on. Then they start there, and then they go after the Democrats. They go after the protesters. The leadership. Then they start killing them. What happens when they start killing the Democratic leaders and the people on the left? Who you got to go to? Whose law is going to change? Who's going to change the law for you when it gets to that point? Because you sat back and say, "Oh, sit down and it's not about us." You think that's all about? You think they're going to give a damn? You go study Jim Crow. You think they gave a damn about a law back in Jim Crow days? About, I have the rights, this is my right, this, that, and the other. Do you think they give a damn about that when that shit gets to that point, which is what it is now? Why he's building up that white extremist group that Christopher Wray was talking about, the FBI director saying it's the most dangerous and biggest threat of the United States as of today, and now he's hiring them. Those are the ICE agents, including some black and some Hispanics that are in there with him because they're always going to be involved. You think this is about just the immigration? Oh, we got to sit back and we got to wait till we get ours. We got to do that till they get. Who's giving who what? If somebody took something from you, what makes you think they're going to give it back to you unless you're ready to take it? If you're not ready to take it, you don't expect to get it back. So when people stand up and they say, oh, we're about this, defending this, that, and the other, arm yourself, put this thing there. If you ain't got nothing better to say with it, then you ain't got nothing to say. Don't say shit. Because you're not doing nothing. You're just a government agent. I know government agent. I've been studying this government agent, these informant shit for the fucking last 30 years. That's why I lay low, because I know that like I said, when you go in and you got 85% of these guys, all this tough talk, they turn government informant. It's no different than on the street. There's more government informants on the street just running their mouth, talking shit. But when somebody stands up, they want to tell somebody else. See, government informants, they're not going to talk to the law enforcement like that. Government informants are going to talk to their own people like that. But when the government comes, they're going to bow down. I know what the government informants do. They talk shit among their own and talk shit to their own. But when the government comes, their whole attitude changes. That's the government informant. Because you're not maintaining that. There's no way in the world somebody would talk like that to some government and then they're going to change their tune. For what? Where is they going to change their tune at? The ones that change their tune are the ones that talk like that, and they're trying to talk to other black people like that. But then when the government comes, they yes sir, no sir, this, that, and the other. I don't know. I'll find out if I can. Because they're not on the street. They're not going to go face those guys and say, oh, you're doing this to the community. You never really have the balls to do it. Just makes me sick to my stomach just to know that people out there still being government informants and don't even know they're government informants. Counterinsurgent, not even paid for it. Some may be getting paid. For the most part, you're just doing it voluntarily. Meanwhile, they got 1,000 white supremacist extremist groups armed. Got places where they can go out and practice war games all weekend. Got military fatigues on, all type of stuff they got going on. And you don't hear nobody talking negative about them. Oh, but they ain't gonna do nothing. You know when somebody does something, when the shit goes down and how it goes down. Just like they're not fucking around. They were out there doing something, trying to do something. They targeted them. But you can never talk about somebody who's out there doing something and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You go out there and do something. You say, oh, I'm not going to go out there. Okay, you're a neutralized counterinsurgency. They've neutralized you. That's all it is. When you say you're not going to go do something, sit it out, this, that, you've been neutralized. Capitulations are not a strategy. It's a surrender voluntarily.